Hi everybody and welcome back to my backyard once again. Today we have a new unexpected product from CADDX Walksnail because they recently released a low budget system called Ascent and it's not compatible with the older Goggles X and Goggles L, and many people were wondering if they were gonna continue supporting this higher budget, more premium ecosystem. And they did, because today we have the new Avatar GT2 VTX. A 2-watt long-range VTX. I can't wait to try it and to see how far can it go. I have yet to unbox it. Boom. You get a manual, 2 antennas with this MMCX connector, screws and 2 sets of cables. One is open-ended, one has the connector on both sides. And lastly, the camera and VTX, which is quite a chunker. It's like 2 or 4 stacked on top of each other, but it's 2 watts. It has an integrated cooling fan. This thing can sit no problem. And it's really meant for long-range operation on 7 inches on wings, so this bigger weight won't be an issue. I remember testing the first version of this camera a couple of years ago. It was the GT1 and it was still 2 watts, it still had the camera. It was a little bit smaller, but this one has quite a bit of improvements I'm gonna talk about later. The GT1 in my tests performed a little bit worse than the 1200 milliwatts of the DJI O3, but I tested it in penetration, not range. It's a good test because penetration is great, but this is really meant for long range. So in their tests, this camera went 10-20 kilometers, all stock antennas, 55 kilometers with modified luminaire antennas. So it can go quite the range if you have an unobstructed line of sight. But here at my house, I cannot really test range that well. I cannot go 55 kilometers out. What I can test is penetration, because I always fly here, I know where the obstacles are, I know how different systems behave around obstacles. But now, after a couple of years more of experience, I know that bumping up the power doesn't really do much for penetration, because obstacles absorb a lot of it, so maybe it can help slightly, but it all boils down to antennas, protocols, efficiency, chips inside. But since they made a lot of improvements on this system, I am very curious to see if we can beat the GT1, because first of all, they added frequency hopping. So if it finds interferences, it can change the channel to a more clean one. It also comes with automatic power levels. Before you had to set, for example, 2 watts from the start and it was fixed at that. Now you can still have it fixed, but it can raise the power as you go further, as the signal drops. So it's more efficient and also your signal is cleaner. Because, for example, when you are close, it's better to stay at 25 milliwatts. The signal is cleaner, it doesn't bounce off of walls. So it's a very smart thing. They've also improved the efficiency by 30%. Before it was consuming 26 watts at maximum power, now it consumes only 16. It comes with an improved Sony sensor inside the camera. It supports SD cards. Finally, they click in place. You don't need to add the tape as the old one. This is the bind button, antenna holes, flight controller connector, and finally we have a USB-C connector. The videos you record here are 180p 60, they support gyroflow. This unit is also compatible with the GM series of gimbals without soldering. You just plug them in and they work. And they give you a nice head tracking directly from your goggles. You don't need extra gear. And boom, I just finished installing the GT2 into this Gepard C Mark V. And really it was super hard finding a drone that will fit all the parts of this system, because first of all, the unit at the back is an absolute chunker. You can see how big it is. There is no space for anything else. I had to remove the EST60 and route it at the side. I have bigger drones, but most of them have side plastic covers that are tailored for the O4, and I would need to remove them and heavily modify the drone. So this one was quite easy. The antennas have very thin stems but big MMCX connectors, so you cannot route them through these holes. Luckily, the Mark V has some open slots that work flawlessly. And the camera cable is at the max length, so you cannot go further. Many 7 inches have the camera sitting right here and the cable could not reach them. I didn't think about this earlier, but the unit has the USB-C port at the side, but also the flight controller connector. I wish it was placed in the front part, so it will be a little bit tighter. These wires, I had to route them very tightly so they don't go into the propellers. And on the other side, you have perfect access to the bind button and SD card. And before flying, I just upgraded the firmware both on the unit and on the goggles, and it's very easy to do that. You just take the SD card, format it on your laptop, put the EMG file on the SD card, put it in the unit or the goggles, power them on, and once they are on, just keep pressing the bind button for like 10 seconds and it will update the firmware. And finally, it's time to fly. I have set frequency hopping and auto power levels, so let's see how it goes. I'm gonna fly like I always do, going all the way up to my property, turning right and seeing if the signal holds. I'm not used to 16:9. And I'm not used to this radio. We can see 25 megabits at the bottom, but I cannot see auto. I see auto, but I don't know. Also, it's not picking up satellites, and I believe that's because it has 2000 milliwatts of antennas right at the top. I don't know, I see a lot of artifacts in the video. Like, it's bumping up the power, but wow, how too many artifacts. It's super weird. I believe as it's losing power, it will bump up the power. You see? No. Wow. I was not expecting this performance. I believe I'm gonna put it at 2000 milliwatts, so I'm sure it's there. Remove the frequency hopping, just select a channel. And already at 2000 milliwatts, it seems much better close by. I don't see those weird artifacts. Why does it say choose a channel? I just did. I removed the frequency hopping. No, here maybe it's no. It's maybe slightly better, but already I see red. Man, it's crazy. I believe if CADDX wants to beat DJI, they need to start producing their own gear. I mean, of course, there is a ton of stuff between me and the drone up there, but the O3 and O4s can do that no problem. I'm gonna try flying again, changing from 180p to 720. Maybe the less resolution will give me a little boost in range. I don't know. I changed resolution, the goggle screen shut down. I have been trying to make them work for many minutes, but it seems that switching them to 720p bugged them. I can see the Avatar logo, so the screen works, but then when it boots up, I cannot see anything. Even if I switch source, the screen is completely black and I cannot see anything. It seems like I have to reflash the firmware, but I have to close this video. And it seems to me like the performance of the GT2 is basically the same as the GT1, at least penetration-wise. I was expecting slightly better, but they basically stop at the same exact place. You get a couple quality of life improvements, the micro SD, the USB-C slot, frequency hopping and auto power levels. And I don't know how it's possible that CADDX, that a few years ago made the CADDX Vista, cannot replicate at least that level of performance. I know it was commissioned by DJI, but they should have got some expertise from it. And now we have 4-year updated technology to work with. So I don't know why these modules are double the size, double the weight, double the output power, and they cannot equal a CADDX Vista. I am not a DJI fanboy by any means. I actually dislike many of their choices, like the goggles are super uncomfortable, the Goggle 3, but I have to give to them the RF performance is crazy. Every generation you can go places you could not go before, and it's just crazy. And it's sad to see they don't have real competition. Of course, this is an alternative if you cannot get DJI, but still, if you can get DJI, probably you're gonna have much better performance by that. Much more refinement, less bugs, because let's say I just bugged my goggles. Because for example, these goggles feel way better than the DJI ones. They are much more comfy, much smaller, and I can focus better inside them. So it's such a shame that they don't make a better system. I feel like for most people I'm gonna keep recommending DJI because you have better performance and less headache. It just works. This may be good for limit cases where you cannot buy DJI, so this becomes the second obvious option. Maybe you don't want them breathing on your neck with remote ID and all of the stuff. Better. Maybe you want to use the GM gimbal on a RC car on something and you want to have a little bit easier head tracking. This works even if they didn't put the tracker in the Goggles X. You have to use the Goggles L. So I don't know, even CADDX didn't really make the best choices ever. And that's all for today. I still hope that one day we're gonna have some real competition to DJI. Either these kind of companies start making their own chips and protocols, which is super expensive, a lot of research and development, but is needed. Or Artosin, that's the company making all of the chips for the Walksnails, for the Ascent, the Artlink, anti-gravity, potency, all of the drones that are not DJI, you can feel how far they are from DJI performance. So Artosin, please make better chips so we can have a little bit less monopoly. And as always, remember to like, subscribe and comment on this video. Let me know what you think about Walksnail, CADDX, Artosin, DJI. If you want to buy something, check out the links in the description below, because clicking on them you help my channel a lot and many times you also find discounts. Thank you so much, stay safe and happy flying. Bye!